Hola y bienvenidos al video Preguntas, o in inglés, question words. Let's start by talking about the difference between a question and a statement. Basically, a question and a statement in Spanish can be almost the same. They can have the same words in the same order. The way a listener tells the difference is by the way your voice changes. In a statement, your voice stays steady. Por ejemplo, Isabel va a la escuela. My voice doesn't change. However, I could say those same exact words as a question simply by raising my voice on the last word. Listen carefully, especially to the word escuela. Here's my question. Isabel va a la escuela? Notice how my voice rose. Another clue you can give your listener is to switch the verb and the subject. In Espanol, the subject always comes first in a statement. So since Isabel is doing the action, in a statement she has to come first. Isabel va a la escuela. However, to give my listener an even better clue than my voice rising at the end, I can switch that in a question so that my verb va comes first. Va Isabel a la escuela? Now my listener has two clues. My voice still rises on escuela, and Isabel comes second. Good thing to keep in mind when you're answering questions on quizzes and tests as well. Subjects can come second in a question. Lots of times we have questions that just simply aren't yes or no. In that case, we're going to use a question word. You already know the question words in English. Who, what, where, when, why, how, and which. Spanish has similar question words. There's a few more in Spanish, though, because some question words have to be used with specific verbs. This is something to really pay attention to. The first ones we're going to talk about are ones that you're already familiar with. Our first question word is que. Que means what, and we've used it before in sentences like ¿Qué hora es? What time is it? Que is a little bit tricky because there's another word that also means what, and we'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. Another question word you're familiar with is como. Como usually means how, like in ¿Cómo estás? How are you? It can occasionally mean what, but it usually only means what when you're asking what someone is like. For example, ¿Cómo es él? What is he like? It's about the only time it means what. ¿Quién or quiénes means who. And we'll talk in a second about why we have two different versions of who. But for right now, just know that quién means who. And usually I use it when I want to ask who someone is. For example, I might say, ¿Quién está a la puerta? Who is at the door? Con quién is another version of quién. It means with who. Often in English, we put the with at the end. We might say, who are you going to the party with? But in Spanish, the with has to come first. So I would say, ¿Con quién va a la fiesta? Who are you going to the party with? Or with who are you going to the party? Here are some more question words to be familiar with. The first one is cuántos. Cuántos means how many. It can also mean how much. Cuántos is usually masculine, but can sometimes be feminine if it has a noun after it that is feminine. We already use cuántos with the sentence, ¿Cuántos años tienes? How old are you? Or how many do you have? We often also use cuántos with the word cuesta, which means cost. ¿Cuántos cuesta? How much does it cost? Notice that there's three different ways to say where. That's because where changes depending on what verb you use it with. If you use a star, you're going to use donde. ¿Dónde está mi bolígrafo? Where is my pen? ¿Dónde está mi mamá? Where is my mom? Está is always used with donde. A donde is almost always used with ir. That's the verb we're studying right now. ¿A dónde vas? To where are you going? ¿A dónde va mi hermana? Where did my sister go to? Ir has to be used with a dónde. A star has to be used with donde. Please try not to get those two mixed up. Our last one, de donde, means from where, and it's used with ser. De donde eres? Where are you from? There's just 3 more that you have to remember. ¿Cuál is one of them. ¿Cuál usually means which, but it can also mean what, and this is the one that people get mixed up with que, so we're going to talk about the difference between the two in just a moment. ¿Por qué is another one that you're familiar with. It means why. ¿Por qué estás triste? Why are you sad? And ¿cuándo means when. ¿Cuándo es la fiesta? When is the party? Since there's a lot of question words, we're going to learn a song. I'll give you a little preview, but we'll sing it tomorrow in class. It goes to the tune of Jingle Bells. ¿Quién es who? ¿Qué es what? ¿Por qué? Why? ¿Dónde? Where? ¿Cuándo? When? ¿Y cómo? How? ¿Cuál is which or what? ¿Quién is who? ¿Qué is what? ¿Por qué? Why? ¿Dónde? Where? ¿Cuándo? When? ¿Y cómo? How? ¿A dónde? Means where to. Memorizing the song can really help you learn all these question words. Couple of little things to keep in mind when you're using question words. The first is that 2 of them, quién and cuál, can be used singularly or as a plural. Most of the time, I'm talking about one person, so I would just use quién. ¿Quién está a la puerta? Who is at the door? But if I notice out my window that 5 people are at my door, I'm going to use quiénes instead. ¿Quiénes están a mi puerta? Who is at my door? But now I have to use quiénes because I use the plural están. The same with cuál. Cuál is usually used in the singular, like cuál es la fecha? What is the date? But I could use cuáles if I'm asking about something that's plural. ¿Cuáles suéteres están sucio? Which sweaters are dirty? Let's get back to that 2 whats. Both que and cuál mean what. So how do you know what to use when? Well, it depends on your verb basically. Que is used in front of most verbs, but the verb it's not usually used in front of is ser. It's also used with definitions. Now this is where it gets a little confusing because if you're defining something, you probably are using as. You probably are using ser, but you're actually asking for a definition. Like, ¿qué es la radio? You're literally asking, what is a radio? Like, can I look it up in the dictionary and tell you what it is? And ser is also used with time, but we already know that. We studied ¿qué hora es? ¿Cuál, on the other hand, is used in front of ser for everything but definitions. That's why we say, ¿cuál es la fecha? What is the date? And it's also used when we actually mean which, like, which sweater do you need? ¿Cuál suéter necesitas? Well, that's it for today. Tienen un buen noche. Buena suerte con las preguntas. Adiós.